The navy blue velvet dress hung on the back of my bedroom door, freshly dry cleaned and ready for Christmas Eve. I had bought it 3 years ago, but I rarely had an occasion special enough to wear it. This year felt different. My son Lucas and his wife Sophia were hosting their first major holiday dinner in the sprawling Victorian home I had helped them purchase in the most prestigious neighborhood of Charleston. I had spent the last month bragging to my bridge club about how beautiful the evening was going to be. I could already picture myself holding my grandson Leo, sitting by the fireplace that I had paid to restore just last winter. I was organizing my jewelry box, looking for the pearl necklace my late husband had given me when the phone rang. It was Lucas. His voice sounded tight, the way it always did when he was about to ask for money or deliver bad news. He started with small talk about the weather, which was my first warning sign. My son never discussed the weather unless he was stalling. Finally, after an awkward silence, he cleared his throat. "Mom, we need to talk about Christmas Eve," he said. I felt a cold prickle on the back of my neck. "What about it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "Is Leo sick?" "No, Leo is fine," Lucas replied quickly. "It's just that Sophia's parents are flying in from London, the Hemingways. You know how they are." I did know how they were. I had never met them, but I knew of them. They were old money, the kind of people who looked down on anyone who hadn't attended the right boarding schools. Sophia never let me forget that her lineage was aristocratic while mine was built on hard work and dirty hands from the landscaping business my husband and I had built from scratch. Lucas continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Look, Mom, Sophia feels that having too many people might overwhelm them. They are very particular about etiquette and atmosphere. We think it might be better if you came by on the 26th. We can do a leftover lunch, just us." The silence that followed was deafening. I sat down on the edge of my bed, staring at the velvet dress, a leftover lunch. That was what I was worth to them. I wasn't good enough to sit at the table I'd paid for, eating the food bought with my monthly transfers in the house that my sweat and sacrifice had secured. I asked him calmly if Sophia was there. I heard a shuffle, and then her crisp, icy voice came on the line. "Eleanor, please don't be difficult. My parents are accustomed to a certain level of sophistication. We just want the evening to be perfect, and frankly, your stories about the gardening business and your loud laughter might make things uncomfortable. We promise to make it up to you." The line went dead before I could respond. I sat there for a long time, the humiliation burning in my chest like heartburn. It wasn't just the rejection, it was the realization of my own stupidity. For 5 years, ever since Lucas married Sophia, I had been their financial backbone. When Sophia wanted to be a stay-at-home mom but refused to give up her weekly spa days, I covered the difference. When they needed a new SUV because the 2-year-old one wasn't safe enough, I wrote the check. The private school tuition, the country club membership, the mortgage. I was bleeding my retirement dry to fund a fantasy life for 2 people who were ashamed of me. I stood up and walked to my desk. I pulled out the drawer where I kept my financial records. I didn't cry. Tears were for people who had hope, and mine had just evaporated. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account. There it was, the scheduled transfer set for the first of the month, $4,500. Mortgage assistance, Lucas called it. I called it leverage, though I'd never used it until now. My hand didn't shake as I clicked the Cancel Recurring Payment button. I didn't stop there. I went through the credit card statements. The supplementary card I had given Sophia for emergencies showed charges for designer shoes, a 5-star lunch, and a deposit for a ski trip. I canceled the card immediately, reporting it as no longer authorized. The next morning, the reality of what I had done settled in, bringing with it a strange sense of peace. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat on my porch watching the winter sun rise. I expected my phone to ring, and sure enough, at nearly noon, Sophia's number flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. She called 3 more times. Then a text arrived. "Eleanor, are you ignoring us? I need you to pick up the custom centerpiece from the florist on your side of town. It's ready now, and I'm too busy with preparations." The audacity was breathtaking. I wasn't welcome at the dinner, but I was still expected to be the delivery girl. I typed a simple reply, "I am busy. Good luck with the party." I then turned my phone off. I spent Christmas Eve alone, but it wasn't the sad, lonely night I had feared. I ordered Chinese takeout, drank a glass of expensive wine that I usually saved for guests, and watched old movies. It was the first holiday in years where I wasn't stressed about cooking, buying gifts that wouldn't be appreciated, or walking on eggshells around Sophia. But the silence didn't last. 2 days after Christmas, I went to the grocery store and ran into an old friend, Margaret. She looked at me with pity, which confused me. "Eleanor, I'm so glad to see you out and about," she said, touching my arm. "We were all so worried when we heard." "Heard what?" I asked. Margaret lowered her voice. "Sophia told everyone at the club that you've been struggling with early onset dementia. She said that's why you weren't at Christmas dinner. She said you became confused and aggressive, and they had to keep you away for your own safety." The jar of pasta sauce I was holding nearly slipped from my hand. They hadn't just excluded me, they had assassinated my character to cover up their own snobbery. They painted me as a senile, crazy old woman to explain why the bank of Mom wasn't at the table. That was the moment the last ember of maternal guilt died. This was war. I didn't confront them immediately. I waited. I knew the cycle of their bills better than they did. The mortgage was due on the 1st, the country club fees on the 5th, the credit card bill on the 10th. I waited for the inevitable panic. It started on January 3rd. Lucas showed up at my door looking disheveled. He didn't ask to come in, he just stood on the porch wringing his hands. "Mom, there's been a mistake at the bank. The transfer didn't come through. We're overdrawn. The mortgage payment bounced." I leaned against the doorframe, sipping my tea. "That's not a mistake, Lucas. I canceled it." He stared at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. "You what? Why?" "Because I'm retiring," I said calmly. "Retiring from what?" "From being your ATM, from funding a lifestyle you can't afford, from paying for a house I'm not welcome to visit." Lucas turned red. "Mom, this is about Christmas, isn't it? You're being petty. Sophia's parents are important people. We couldn't risk you embarrassing us." I smiled and I knew it didn't reach my eyes. Embarrassing you? You mean the woman who paid for the suit you're wearing? The woman who paid for the education that got you your job? If I'm too embarrassing to eat with you, then my money should be too embarrassing to spend. Lucas tried to argue, tried to guilt me, saying I was punishing my grandson. I stopped him. I have set up a trust fund for Leo. He will get money for college when he is 25. You and Sophia won't touch a dime of it. Now please leave my property. The fallout was swift and brutal. Without my money, their house of cards collapsed. Sophia called me screaming, calling me a bitter old hag. I recorded the call and saved it. When the rumors about my dementia continued to circulate, I didn't argue. I simply posted a status on my social media, visible to all our mutual friends in the community. It was a picture of me, smiling and healthy, vacationing in Florida, a trip I booked with the money I saved from 1 month of not paying their bills. The caption read, "Enjoying my retirement and clear mind." It's amazing how much stress disappears when you stop supporting ungrateful relatives. I tagged Sophia. The public humiliation was the final nail. Friends who had believed Sophia's lies started asking questions. The country club suspended their membership when the check bounced, but the real climax happened a month later. I received an invitation to a charity gala, one of the biggest events of the year. I knew Lucas and Sophia would be there. They had bought tickets months ago with my credit card before I canceled it. I decided to go. I wore the navy blue velvet dress. When I walked into the ballroom, heads turned. I looked regal, happy, and entirely sane. I saw Lucas and Sophia across the room. They looked tired. Sophia was wearing a dress she had worn 3 times before, a cardinal sin in her circle. I walked right up to their table. The people sitting with them fell silent. Sophia looked like she wanted to disappear. "Hello, Lucas." "Sophia," I said, my voice carrying clearly. "I hope you're enjoying the evening. I just wanted to return something." I placed a small envelope on the table. It wasn't money. It was a breakdown of every cent I'd given them over the last 5 years, totaling nearly $300,000, along with a printout of the foreclosure notice I had seen listed in the legal section of the newspaper that morning. One of Sophia's wealthy friends picked up the paper before Sophia could snatch it away. Her eyes went wide. "Oh my God, Sophia, your mother-in-law paid for your renovations and your car? I thought you said that was family money from London." I smiled sweetly. "It was family money," I corrected, "from my family, the landscaping family." I turned to walk away, but I stopped and looked back at my son. "By the way, Lucas, I'm selling the big house. I'm moving into a condo downtown. It's smaller, but it has a strict policy against visitors who don't respect the owner." I walked out of that ballroom feeling lighter than air. I didn't look back to see them arguing or the whispers spreading through the room like wildfire. I was free. 3 months later, the foreclosure went through. They had to move into a small apartment on the edge of town. Sophia's parents, it turned out, didn't have as much liquid cash as they claimed and refused to help them. Lucas eventually came to see me. He was humble, broken, and apologized for everything. He told me Sophia had left him when the money ran out. I forgave him because he is my son and I love him, but I didn't open my wallet. I made him dinner, I listened to him and I hugged him. But when he hinted about needing a loan for a security deposit, I handed him the classified section of the newspaper, circled with help wanted ads. I'm done saving you, Lucas, I told him. It's time you save yourself. And for the first time in his life, he actually looked like a man, not a boy waiting for an allowance. I realized then that my money hadn't been helping him, it had been crippling him. Cutting him off was the greatest gift I could have ever given him. As for me, I finally wore that velvet dress to a Christmas party the following year, hosted by my bridge club, surrounded by people who loved me for my loud laugh and my dirty gardening hands, not for what I could buy them, and the food tasted better than anything served on fine china.